Okay, I want to talk about something else, which is it caught my eye when Pete Hegseth retweeted a CNN post which was about Doug Wilson, who's his personal pastor. Well, he goes to his church, and he has 130 odd churches and a kind of growing influence as a white nationalist pastor who's been doing a lot of church planting. And in it, Wilson says things like, wait a minute, I wrote this down. Women are the kind of people that people come out of. Followed by,
Okay.
it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. So, okay, that's a cheerful start. Then other pastors in it talk about, should they get rid of the 19th Amendment? Should women vote at all? And one of the pastors is like, no, because I think there should be a household vote and I should have that. I should have that vote. Like stunningly retro things. And also Wilson also believes that we need to remember that there were some slave owners who had terrific relationships with their slaves, apparently.
That keeps coming up.
Yep. Well, he said that in the 90s and he's abiding by it.
Yeah.
You know. So what can it mean when we have the Secretary of Defense of the United States approvingly posting something which queries women's right to have any voice politically and posits them as breeding machines, in fact, talentless breeding machines, because apparently it's not very hard to have a child.
But it's not a skill.
It's not a skill.
You don't go
Just
tech.
pop them out. Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Okay, look, there's a few thoughts on this.
Yes, please.
The first thing I would say is that you need to take the context here to give the full effect of why people would be concerned about this. I mean, on the surface, I can see why people would be concerned, but but when you go deeper, there's more reason for concern.
Okay, greater nightmares. Yes.
And that is that only 2 weeks before this story came out, there was a guidance that went out across the entire government, but it was talked about a lot in the defence context in particular, that said that government workers were not only allowed to proselytise their religion, but they were allowed to try and recruit for their religion. The only thing they couldn't do was harass people, whatever that means.
Whatever harassment is.
Yes.
Well, as Doug Wilson said, you know, like he said, every country's a theocracy. It just depends who Theo is.
Yeah. I don't think it means Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in that context, you go, I should just take a step back for a second. You might go, well, freedom of religion, that's okay. And you know what? I'm a freedom kind of a guy.
Sure. Yeah.
I like freedom of speech.
Definitely.
I like
yes, sure.
allowing people to preach if they want to preach. But you know what? If you go into the Defence Department and you say a word about diversity, you're sacked tomorrow. You are out of there. There's no freedom then. There's only freedom to talk about the things that they don't mind you talking about.
But I'm like, why has this not been a bigger deal? I know we're being bombarded. Like, I know that. But if you do even a scant look at what Doug Wilson has written about, let me just read to you a couple of things.
Please.
I mean, you know, only male leadership and all the rest of it. In his book, Her Hand in Marriage, he says a woman's submission to her husband protects her from having to submit to other men. And women who insist on no masculine protection, single, whatever. Women, Wilson writes, are really women who tacitly agree on the propriety of rape.
Wow.
Okay. He also said, it's about what do you do if a woman won't submit to you? In his book, Federal Husband, he says, well, look, the first time a wife does not do the dishes, her husband should gently remind her. But if she continues to rebel, then he should call in the elders for public rebuke and shaming. Other people have reported beginning to use domestic discipline against their wives, so spanking them, because his book says wives need to be led with a firm hand. That's how some have interpreted that. Yeah. And he says true authority, and also that it's erotic, you know, that with sex, like he says that a man penetrates with sex, conquers, colonizes, plants, while a woman receives, surrenders, and accepts. So true authority and true submission are therefore an erotic necessity.
What's wrong with this guy?
Which bit? Like all of it, it's a worldview.
Yeah.
And it just takes, you just have to scratch and all this stuff. He's written it, it's on the public record. Now, if we can compare what happened to Barack Obama,
Please.
when Jeremiah Wright, who was leading the church he was part of, had made, tell us about that story, because there was such an outcry about that.
Yeah. There was one sermon where Jeremiah Wright was talking about anti-war stuff. This is because it's back in 2007 or whatever. And he said the phrase, "God bless America, God damn America." And that got played on Fox News about 6 million times. It wasn't clear at all that Barack Obama was present.
I think he also said that 9/11 happened because of American terrorism or something.
Yeah. He did. But it wasn't clear at all that Barack Obama either was even present when these things were said. He certainly didn't agree with them, but Barack Obama never said that he said anything that suggests that he would agree with any of this. But not only did Barack Obama have to distance himself from that preacher, he had to give like an hour-long speech about the whole thing, like to try and inoculate himself from
a long disavowal, went through bit by bit what he had said and said, "This is not me." Whereas we have like Pete Hegseth going,
Yeah, well, we don't have Pete Hegseth saying anything. We have a spokesperson for Pete Hegseth saying, of course, the secretary thinks that women should have the right to vote. That's a stupid question.
Saying that's a stupid question is an epic gaslight. I don't like overusing that word. But like to even ask, after you've retweeted this guy with these views on women, if you support it and goes, "No, you're stupid."
Yeah.
And of course not. But anyway.
No, I 100% agree. Unlike Barack Obama,
yes,
Pete Hegseth is the one who introduced this fellow into the conversation. Barack Obama didn't tweet out a clip from his preacher.
Yeah.
People went back to find out where Barack Obama went to church. They did the legwork themselves, right? Barack Obama didn't make him an issue.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth was the one who tweeted this guy out.
That particular bit. It wasn't like he tweeted something of him saying, praise the Lord.
And he cited him approving.
And then they found that he also had these other beliefs. It's all there.
So here's the thing.
Yes.
I'd like to be generous to people. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. If Pete Hegseth says, "I don't believe any of that crap,"
but can you accept that even dismissing it like that?
The way the spokesperson did, I don't accept. I agree with you. That is gaslighting. It's insulting, and too many spokespeople in the Trump administration speak like that. By the way, it's very crude, and I don't like it.
Right.
But leaving that aside, if Pete Hegseth came out and said, "Of course, I support the women's right to vote. I support equality, all the rest of it," I'd believe him. I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, unless he says something otherwise, right? Fine.
I'd want to ask him a series of questions.
That's fine. Okay. I don't think you're being unfair. That's very fair.
Yes.
That's very fair. But my point is this: he didn't come out. The spokesperson said that thing that you were insulted by, and I also was insulted by.
Yeah.
That was the response.
Yeah.
And the thing that for me was most noteworthy was even before that response from the spokesperson, there was no real controversy.
Yeah.
It got tweeted out a little bit.
Yeah.
But people generally were just like, "Oh yeah, whatever."
Yeah.
We'll just come to accept it.
What's going on
normalized
culturally here, Chaz? Tell me what's happening culturally.
Look, it's a really good question, because I think this is a great symptom of a much broader issue, which is I feel like society is regressing. And then this is not me just talking about Trump. I think it's been regressing for a while. I think this year it's sped up, and that may be Trump administration related. In fact, I think it is Trump administration related. But I think generally society has been regressing for a while. I think that we are becoming cruder. I think that we are becoming less tolerant, less patient, more knee-jerk. I think our memory is becoming more like a goldfish. I think we forget things that happened a year ago or 2 years ago completely. I think that we are becoming less kind, and I think we are becoming dumber as a society. I think that the broader public discourse is dumb.